Part 1, The Chaos in the Galactic Council Chamber. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was in absolute chaos, a chaos so intense that even the concept of a supernova seemed tame. The normally serene hall, adorned with floating crystal pillars and shimmering holographic projections, was now a whirlwind of voices, gestures, and frantic calls. Ambassadors and diplomats from every corner of the galaxy shouted over each other, their alien features contorting with anger, fear, or disbelief. The air crackled with tension, as though the very fabric of the galaxy was on the brink of tearing apart. At the center of the storm was High Counselor Xena Star Weaver, her crystalline form pulsating with stressed-out rainbow colors. Her presence, usually calm and composed, was now a flashing beacon of frustration as she tried, and failed, to restore order. She raised her translucent hands, the shimmering facets of her body catching the light, but it was clear her usual authority was no match for the pandemonium in the room. Order. Order in the chamber, she boomed, her voice echoing through the vast hall. Her command was barely audible over the cacophony of frantic voices, all clamoring for answers, all desperate to make sense of the disaster unfolding before them. I, Ambassador Klex Brightheart of the Luminari Confederation, leaned back in my hover seat, watching the diplomatic disaster unfold with an ever-growing sense of amusement. It was hard to suppress the smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. Why? Because while everyone else scrambled to figure out how to handle this crisis, I knew exactly what was happening. Someone had made the grave mistake of killing a human whose death had far-reaching consequences across the galaxy. And not just any human. No, they had killed Captain Amanda Stone, a renowned figure among the humans. She wasn't just some random citizen, she was the captain of the Earth science vessel Curiosity, a vessel known for its peaceful scientific missions and humanitarian efforts. She had been working tirelessly with her team to develop a cure for the Relian plague, a disease that had ravaged several colonies across the galaxy. Captain Stone wasn't just a symbol of human advancement, she was a mother, a scientist, a diplomat in her own right, and one of the few humans who had earned the respect of nearly every species in the galaxy. And now she was dead. Her death had sent shockwaves across the galaxy. And the reactions from the other members of the Galactic Council reflected the magnitude of the disaster. The Crimson Nebula pirates, who were suspected of carrying out the killing, had been quick to claim it was an accident, but the more I heard about the situation, the more I doubted that explanation. In the midst of all this chaos, one thing was becoming abundantly clear: the human response to this tragedy would be unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. As I sat back, observing the frantic deliberations of my fellow ambassadors, I could feel the uneasy anticipation building within the council chamber. The humans had made their mark on the galaxy as peaceful explorers, but the killing of Captain Amanda Stone was about to pull them out of their diplomatic shell. And when they did, the galaxy would soon learn why humans, despite their seemingly primitive technology, were not to be trifled with. A silence fell over the chamber as High Counselor Star Weaver's voice cut through the noise once again. This is a diplomatic emergency. We must address it swiftly and carefully, she said, her voice strained as her form shifted to a particularly worrying shade of deep purple. Do you think we can contain the repercussions of this? Someone from the back of the chamber asked, their voice quivering with uncertainty. I didn't bother turning to look, I was too focused on the magnitude of what was happening. The humans had just been pushed too far, and now the entire galaxy was about to pay the price for underestimating them. The truth was, I was enjoying this spectacle, not because I wished harm on anyone, but because I knew, deep down, that this was the moment when the rest of the galaxy would finally come to understand what I had always known about humans. They may have seemed like a peaceful species, focused on trade and scientific discovery, but they were far more capable than anyone realized. And when provoked, they would show no mercy. The chaos that surrounded me now, the endless debates and raised voices, only made me more certain of what was coming. I had seen this kind of response before in the histories of countless species that had underestimated humanity's capacity for revenge. The killing of Captain Amanda Stone wasn't just a diplomatic incident, it was a catalyst, a point of no return. And as I watched the high-ranking officials of the council scramble to make sense of the crisis, I couldn't help but think to myself, this is just the beginning. Part 2, The Human Who Was Killed. The human in question was Captain Amanda Stone, a name that had become synonymous with hope, innovation, and compassion across the galaxy. She wasn't just a captain, she was a hero, a scientist, a mother, and a beacon of everything humanity could aspire to. Aboard the Earth vessel Curiosity, she had led numerous scientific missions to distant stars, helping to unravel the mysteries of the universe. But it wasn't her discoveries alone that made her beloved. No, it was her unwavering dedication to improving the lives of others, especially when it came to the devastating Relian plague. Captain Stone's work had been instrumental in developing a cure for the plague, a disease that had ravaged several colonies across the galaxy. Her research had already saved countless lives, earning her accolades from every corner of known space. She had become a symbol of the best that humanity had to offer, a species that, despite its humble beginnings, had reached out to the stars with boundless curiosity and an insatiable drive to make the universe a better place. But what truly endeared her to the hearts of the galactic community was her personal story. She was a mother of 3 children, living on Mars colony, and every transmission from her ship carried the warmth of a loving parent who, despite the challenges of her work, always made time for her family. She spoke of her children often, their names and faces woven into her narratives of scientific exploration. Her connection to her home and her family was what made her death so profound. It wasn't just the loss of a brilliant scientist or a capable captain, it was the loss of a person who had given everything for the betterment of others. The fact that she was murdered, and by such a brutal and senseless act, sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The Crimson Nebula Pirates, a notorious group of outlaws and criminals, claimed it was an accident. But no one believed that for a second. The details surrounding Captain Stone's death were too deliberate, too cold-blooded to be brushed off as an error. The pirates had ambushed the Curiosity while it was conducting research in the Proxima sector. Despite the peaceful nature of the vessel's mission, the pirates had attacked with full force, targeting the crew and their precious cargo, the cure for the Relian plague. A few hastily fabricated excuses were offered. They claimed the Curiosity had been carrying valuable medical supplies that the pirates intended to sell on the black market, and that the crew had resisted a standard inspection. But these were weak justifications at best. The truth, as far as anyone could tell, was that Captain Stone and her crew had done everything right. They had warned the pirates to stand down, offering a peaceful resolution to what was clearly a pirate raid. When the pirates had fired on them, Captain Stone had shown incredible restraint, even after her ship's propulsion systems were damaged. Yet, as her final transmission indicated, the pirates didn't back down. Instead, they opened fire, leading to a firefight that would claim Captain Stone's life. She died while saving one of her scientists, taking a plasma bolt to the chest as she pushed him out of the line of fire. That was the moment the galaxy had irrevocably changed. The news of her death spread like wildfire across Earth's colonies and beyond. For those who knew Captain Stone, it was a tragedy. For those who knew nothing of her, those who had once dismissed humanity as just another species among many, it was a rude awakening. Killing someone like Amanda Stone was no small matter. She was a representative of humanity's finest qualities, a shining example of the very best the human race had to offer. And now, with her life snuffed out by senseless violence, the galaxy was left to deal with the repercussions. The pirates had hoped to escape with their prize, but they hadn't reckoned with humanity's response. What they didn't know, what the entire galaxy had yet to learn, was that the human species, despite their relatively short time on the galactic stage, were not to be underestimated. They had suffered loss before, but they had always come back stronger. And this time, the galaxy would find out just how far humanity was willing to go to avenge one of their own. In the council chamber, ambassadors and diplomats from across the galaxy were scrambling, trying to understand how the murder of such a person could lead to anything but disaster. The Relian plague cure was gone, Captain Stone was dead, and the humans, diplomatic, peaceful, and often willing to compromise, were on the brink of something far darker. The Crimson Nebula pirates might have thought they'd won, but they were about to learn the true meaning of proportional response, and that, I knew, would be the beginning of a far larger storm. Part 3, the diplomatic disaster unfolds. The tension in the chamber had thickened, turning the already tense atmosphere into something far more dangerous. The murmurs and frantic conversations were growing louder, until the booming voice of High Counselor Xena Star Weaver cut through the chaos. Her crystalline form flickered nervously, her usual calm composure now fractured under the weight of the unfolding disaster. As her voice rang out, every eye in the chamber turned toward her, all waiting for the next piece of news that would undoubtedly shift the balance of power in the galaxy. Every human colony has gone silent, High Counselor Star Weaver announced, her voice unnervingly calm given the gravity of the situation. Earth's message is clear: diplomatic relations temporarily suspended pending proportional response to acts of piracy against Earth citizens. A ripple of shock and confusion spread through the chamber. Murmurs ran like wildfire among the representatives, each struggling to comprehend what this truly meant for the galaxy. Diplomatic channels with Earth, the most powerful emerging species in the galaxy, had been severed. It was a chilling statement, one that none of the galactic leaders had expected. The leaders of the Silicon consciousness, whose thought patterns processed information with unerring logic, exchanged anxious glances. The Celestial Accord, known for their bioluminescent tentacles and philosophical calm, seemed completely at a loss. None of them could fathom what had just happened, nor could they understand the depths of human resolve. And therein lay the problem. They didn't understand humanity. They didn't understand the force they had just unleashed. Ambassador Kleck's Brightheart of the Luminary Confederation, couldn't help but laugh, a small, quiet chuckle, but one that came from deep inside. Oh, they had no idea what was coming. The humans had a saying, mess with the bull. Get the horns. The pirates had poked the bull, and now it was about to charge. And the galaxy's most powerful beings, the ones who had spent centuries evolving, learning, and conquering, were about to learn that very lesson the hard way. As the murmurs of disbelief continued to echo through the room, I leaned back, letting the panic around me wash over me like a wave. It was only a matter of time before they realized how monumental their error had been. They were so used to seeing humans as a primitive species, one that focused on trade, research, and diplomacy. They had never taken the time to understand the darker side of human nature. The side that, when provoked, could bring even the most powerful forces to their knees. The message from Earth had been clear, but the diplomatic representatives from other species were too entrenched in their own superiority to truly grasp the danger. I didn't feel the need to intervene. I simply watched as the diplomatic disaster unfolded. The other species might have been able to engage in polite conversations with humans in the past, but now, they were on the receiving end of a lesson they never saw coming. Part 4, The Pirates' Fatal Mistake. The attack on the Curiosity was swift, sudden, and devastating. The Crimson Nebula pirates, notorious for their lawlessness and their tendency to pick on lesser species, had decided that attacking the Curiosity, an unarmed, research-focused human vessel, would be an easy win. The Curiosity, after all, wasn't a warship, it was a scientific research vessel. Surely, the pirates thought, this would be an easy capture, a quick plunder, a small victory to bolster their flagging reputation, but they were gravely mistaken. The pirates had underestimated not only the Curiosity's capabilities, but also the humans themselves. Captain Amanda Stone had always been more than just a scientist. She was a trained leader, a captain who had seen conflict before, and one who understood how to protect her crew without hesitation. When the pirates made their move, Captain Stone remained calm, despite the threat that loomed before her. The pirates, led by Captain Rax Bloodfang, believed the Curiosity to be nothing more than a floating prize. They thought that once their ships had surrounded the Curiosity, it would be nothing more than a matter of time before the humans surrendered. They were wrong. When the pirates demanded the crew surrender, Captain Stone's response was firm and resolute. This is Captain Amanda Stone of the Earth Science Vessel Curiosity. We are a research vessel, operating under Article 7 of the Galactic Peace Accord. We have minimal valuable cargo and a crew of scientists. I suggest you reconsider your actions, the pirates, demonstrating all the wisdom of a species that had grown complacent in their piracy, laughed. They didn't take the humans seriously. Minimal valuable cargo? Captain Rax Bloodfang's voice echoed through the comm system. We know what you're carrying, medical supplies, Earth's cure for the Relian plague. That'll fetch a pretty price on the black market. Captain Stone's patience began to wear thin. Her next transmission, calm but unwavering, made it clear she was not going to back down. This is your final warning. Withdraw your vessels now, or we will take the necessary steps to protect ourselves, and that was when the pirates made their fatal mistake. Instead of recognizing the warning, they opened fire, targeting the Curiosity's engines. The first shots connected, disabling the vessel's propulsion systems. The peaceful research vessel was now crippled, its crew vulnerable and stranded in space. But Captain Stone didn't hesitate. Her crew would not be abandoned, and she would not let her ship fall into the hands of pirates. What happened next was captured in excruciating detail by the Curiosity's internal security systems. A boarding party led by the pirate's second-in-command, Vix Shadowstrike, breached the Curiosity's airlock. They expected to find a frightened crew cowering in fear. Instead, they encountered a group of resolute humans, led by Captain Stone herself, armed with nothing but their wits and makeshift weapons. The firefight was brief but brutal. In just 47 seconds, 3 pirates lay dead, 2 more were wounded, and Captain Stone had taken a plasma bolt to the chest while shielding one of her scientists. Her final words were recorded by the ship's medical AI, "Tell my kids. Tell them I love them. And tell Earth. Tell them to make it count." As Captain Stone died, the Curiosity's distress beacon began transmitting its last message, one that would send ripples across the galaxy and ignite a chain of events no one could have predicted. The pirates, thinking they had triumphed, hadn't realized the gravity of their actions. They didn't understand that the humans weren't just any species, they were a species that had survived countless challenges, each time coming back stronger. And now, the humans were going to make sure the galaxy knew the price of underestimating them. The Curiosity's distress signal had already been received by Earth Command. The time for diplomacy had passed. The time for consequences was about to begin. Part 5. The human response begins. The silence that followed Captain Stone's death was deafening, not the usual quiet of mourning or reflection, but a deep, heavy silence, an ominous calm that seemed to weigh down the entire galaxy. It was as if every star in the sky had dimmed, as if the universe itself held its breath in anticipation of something terrible, something inevitable. Earth, once the beacon of hope and diplomacy, was suddenly unreachable. The once vibrant lights of human colonies, spread across distant planets, flickered and then went dark. Communications between Earth and the galaxy's far reaches ceased without explanation. The bustling trade routes that had connected humanity to every major system in the galaxy stopped dead in their tracks. No ships moved. No messages were sent. No deals were brokered. Earth, for the first time in a long while, had gone silent. For the first few days, the galaxy's diplomats were in a state of confusion. No one knew what to make of this sudden shift. Was Earth mourning in private, retreating into grief and sorrow over the loss of one of their own? Or had they decided to withdraw from galactic affairs, consumed with the death of Captain Stone? Perhaps they were reconsidering their diplomatic stance, re-evaluating their position before taking action. Representatives from the Silicon Consciousness, the Celestial Accord, and the various trade guilds suggested that the proper course of action might be to send a gesture of solidarity, to express condolences. To send a delegation of peacekeepers, to show Earth that they were not alone in this time of sorrow. The military-grade technology that had once been exclusively held by the galaxy's largest powers, technology that many had assumed humanity was too primitive to produce, was now being upgraded at a rapid pace. Earth's military engineers were working day and night, designing new weapons, retooling old ones, and perfecting technologies that had once been the stuff of dreams. Ships, weapons, shields, and armor, all were being crafted with an efficiency and speed that sent ripples of anxiety through the council chambers. What had once been a scientific fleet, a symbol of Earth's peaceful intent, was now transforming into something far more dangerous, but what made this response so terrifying was the way humans handled the situation. There were no grand public speeches. No declarations of war. No television broadcasts filled with righteous anger. No, Earth's response was far quieter, far more methodical. Their diplomats withdrew. Communications were short and cold, terse messages that gave little to no explanation. The humans had gone underground, pulling back into their own space, away from the rest of the galaxy. And as the rest of the universe fretted over the situation, humanity simply continued to prepare, to position their pieces in the shadows, as if nothing had changed. It was unnerving. The galaxy's most powerful civilizations, those who had always considered humans as a species that relied more on diplomacy and trade than on strength and war, were now scrambling to understand what was happening. The humans had always been the kind of species that would offer help to those in need, who would provide medical assistance, who would offer technology in the name of peace. Now, Earth's focus had shifted inward. The military-grade technology that had once been exclusively held by the galaxy's largest powers, technology that many had assumed humanity was too primitive to produce, was now being upgraded at a rapid pace. Earth's military engineers were working day and night, designing new weapons, retooling old ones, and perfecting technologies that had once been the stuff of dreams. Ships, weapons, shields, and armor, all were being crafted with an efficiency and speed that sent ripples of anxiety through the council chambers. What had once been a scientific fleet, a symbol of Earth's peaceful intent, was now transforming into something far more dangerous, but what made this response so terrifying was the way humans handled the situation. There were no grand public speeches. No declarations of war. No television broadcasts filled with righteous anger. No, Earth's response was far quieter, far more methodical. Their diplomats withdrew. Communications were short and cold, terse messages that gave little to no explanation. The humans had gone underground, pulling back into their own space, away from the rest of the galaxy. And as the rest of the universe fretted over the situation, humanity simply continued to prepare, to position their pieces in the shadows, as if nothing had changed. It was unnerving. The galaxy's most powerful civilizations, those who had always considered humans as a species that relied more on diplomacy and trade than on strength and war, were now scrambling to understand what was happening. The humans had always been the kind of species that would offer help to those in need, who would provide medical assistance, who would offer technology in the name of peace. Now, Earth's focus had shifted inward. Scientists who once worked side by side with other species were now pulling back. There were no more breakthroughs being shared. No more technological partnerships. The cures for diseases, the innovations that had once flowed freely across the galaxy, all suddenly ceased. Instead, every valuable resource, every ounce of technology, every human asset was being pulled back into Earth-controlled space. The message was unmistakable: Earth was no longer interested in peaceful cooperation. Earth had no more time for diplomacy. It was now preparing for something far greater, something more dangerous. And I could see it coming, even if others could not. I, Ambassador Klex Brightheart, had spent years studying human nature. I knew the history of their wars, the way they responded to threats, the way they valued both mercy and vengeance in equal measure. The galaxy had made a mistake. They had underestimated humanity for far too long. The death of Captain Amanda Stone had ignited a fire in humans, one that no one could extinguish. The galaxy would soon learn what it meant to anger a species that had long kept its full power hidden in the depths of its core. The storm was coming. And when it did, it would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The humans weren't just preparing for retribution. They were preparing to show the galaxy just how wrong they had been to dismiss them. The coming response would not just be a battle. It would be a lesson, a harsh reminder that humanity's strength was not to be ignored. The galaxy was about to experience the full weight of humanity's resolve. And there would be no turning back. Part 6. The storm begins. The storm that had been quietly building on Earth's side of the galaxy finally began to take shape, and the first signs of what was to come appeared with an ominous clarity that reverberated across the stars. Earth's military installations, which had once been modest and defensive in nature, were now humming with unprecedented activity. What had been relatively small, secondary outposts were now buzzing with engineers, scientists, and military officers working at a fever pitch. Vast fleets of ships, massive, towering vessels that had once been thought outdated, relics of an earlier era, and consigned to storage or museums, were suddenly reactivated. They weren't simply getting back into service. They were being overhauled, refitted, and retooled for a kind of combat that had been long out of sight. The old warships, once considered inefficient in the age of newer, more advanced fleets, were now undergoing upgrades that no one could have imagined. Human scientists and engineers were working day and night, their minds pushing the boundaries of technology further than ever before. New weapons were being developed at a pace that left the galaxy's best minds in awe and fear. Hyper-advanced targeting systems, cloaking technology that made the most sophisticated stealth units seem obsolete, and weapons capable of incapacitating entire fleets with a single strike were all being integrated into the new fleet. The humans weren't just preparing to defend themselves, they were preparing to wipe the slate clean, to rewrite the rules of engagement with a ferocity that would leave no doubt about their power. Meanwhile, human civilians, once scattered across the farthest reaches of the galaxy, merchants, researchers, diplomats, tourists, began to quietly make their way back to Earth. At first, it was a trickle. A few scientists packed up their experiments, a handful of tourists quietly made arrangements to return home. But before long, that trickle became a flood. People began abandoning their off-world residences, canceling contracts, and selling their properties at an alarming rate. The once bustling trade hubs in human-controlled space, thriving with activity, began to empty as their ships departed. Cargo holds, once filled with valuable human goods, were now being stripped clean, and humanity's vast economic influence evaporated as their trade networks slowly ground to a halt. It was as if Earth had simply pulled the plug on the entire galaxy's economy, and in the blink of an eye, the very arteries that connected the stars seemed to dry up, and then, almost without warning, the galaxy found itself cut off from Earth. All channels of communication with human colonies went quiet. There were no broadcasts, no transmissions. Earth had become a black hole, its presence felt but not seen. The rest of the galaxy was left in the dark, wondering what had happened, uncertain of what was to come, but I knew. Earth wasn't retreating. Earth wasn't hiding. Earth was preparing. And anyone who understood humanity, who understood the pain of being wronged and the power of vengeance, knew that this preparation was only the beginning. They had learned, through their turbulent history, that when you let your guard down, when you show any sign of weakness, you leave yourself vulnerable. And that was something humanity would never allow again. They had been patient, diplomatic, and cooperative for so long, but now they were ready to fight, ready to act, and the galaxy was about to feel the full weight of their wrath. As the signs of Earth's massive mobilization spread, the galaxy's most powerful civilizations, those who had always viewed humanity with a certain air of superiority, began to feel the first stirrings of fear. These were the civilizations that had long thought of humanity as a minor player in the galactic game, a species more concerned with scientific discovery and diplomatic relations than military conquest. They had looked at humanity's peaceful advances, its medical breakthroughs, its willingness to share knowledge and technology with other species, and had assumed that humanity's strength lay only in its diplomacy, but now, that sense of security had been shattered. The humans were acting with an urgency and precision that had been absent for centuries. They weren't just reacting to the death of Captain Stone, they were recalibrating their entire existence. The trade agreements that had once been Earth's signature were now abandoned. The scientific collaborations that had flourished for years came to a screeching halt. And Earth's medical breakthroughs, which had once been shared so generously with the galaxy, were now being hoarded, kept behind closed doors, away from the rest of the universe. Earth's focus had shifted inward, and every move they made seemed to say the same thing: they were preparing for war, for all the technological advancements of the galaxy's most powerful species, for all their political influence and military might. They were now realizing the bitter truth: they had underestimated humanity. They had looked at humans as a rising species, full of potential, yes, but not yet a threat. They had been lulled into a false sense of security by Earth's peaceful demeanor, its diplomatic overtures, and its habit of cooperating with everyone. But now, the galaxy was learning the truth. Humanity was not just capable of peace. It was capable of war, of violence on a scale that few could even imagine. And when humanity finally struck, the galaxy would remember the lesson for generations. The galaxy had made the mistake of seeing humanity as weak, as primitive, a species more interested in trade than in battle. Now, the humans were going to show them just how wrong they had been. The storm that had been brewing on Earth's side of the galaxy would soon break, and it would be a storm that would leave no corner of the universe untouched. The humans weren't hiding anymore. They weren't waiting. They were ready to fight, ready to conquer, and the galaxy was about to witness a lesson in strength, in survival, and in vengeance that would leave them all reeling. The storm was coming, and when it did, there would be no turning back. Not for the pirates. Not for the Galactic Council. Not for anyone. Humanity was done being underestimated, and now the universe would understand exactly what it meant to anger a species that had learned to fight for its survival. The first wave was just the beginning. The storm was just gathering. Part 7, the pirates begin to feel the pressure. As Earth's military began to move, the Crimson Nebula pirates found themselves caught completely off guard. They had long operated with impunity, preying on weaker vessels and colonies, never once considering that they could be up against a force capable of dismantling their entire operation. They had believed that their piratical ways were unstoppable, their terror tactics efficient. But they were wrong. The first strike came with shocking swiftness. The first pirate base, hidden within the depths of a gas giant's atmosphere, simply disappeared without warning. There were no approaching ships, no energy signatures, no signs of battle. It was as if the base had never existed. The pirates, confused and terrified, scrambled for answers, but none came. They only knew that their base had been eradicated, and the humans weren't offering any explanations. The pirates' confusion only deepened as more of their strongholds and assets began to fall. Earth wasn't just making a statement, they were systematically eradicating every element of the pirates' infrastructure. The pirates, still reeling from the loss of their base, received an announcement that sent a chill down their spines. General Marcus Chen of the Earth Defense Force, known for his stoic demeanor and precise tactics, made a broadcast to the entire galaxy. The message was clear and simple: Earth had begun operations to eliminate piracy across the galaxy. Human vessels would systematically cleanse the known sectors of pirate influence, and the pirates' assets would be reclaimed for the betterment of all. The pirates, for the first time, understood the magnitude of the force they were facing. They had no idea what they were up against. What they had once believed were minor skirmishes were now becoming one-sided exterminations. The humans weren't just defending their honor, they were methodically and coldly dismantling everything the pirates had built, reducing it to ash without hesitation. The pirates had made a terrible mistake, and it was becoming increasingly clear that they would not escape the wrath of the humans. Part 8, the humans' military superiority. It didn't take long for the galaxy to realize what had been hidden in plain sight: humanity had perfected the art of war long before they reached the stars. What the other civilizations saw as a primitive species, focused on trade, research, and diplomacy, was, in fact, a species that had long understood the power of warfare, even if they had avoided using it for centuries. Now, with a fierce and unrelenting precision, humanity was showing the galaxy why it had always been dangerous to assume their peaceful exterior meant weakness. Human military operations were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The strikes were fast, calculated, and executed with a level of efficiency that left their enemies paralyzed. Each move, each strike, was perfectly coordinated. The human ships moved like shadows, invisible until it was too late. Their warships, once thought to be obsolete and underdeveloped, were now terrifying instruments of destruction. Their technology, hidden for so long, was unleashed with devastating effect. Each blow struck with surgical precision, minimizing collateral damage, taking out vital installations and enemy forces while leaving surrounding infrastructure unharmed. It wasn't just about defeating the pirates, it was about sending a message that reverberated across the galaxy and beyond. The humans weren't just seeking revenge. They were showing the galaxy that their capacity for war was unmatched. Their ability to retaliate without hesitation was unparalleled. It was a message that said, "Underestimate us at your peril." The pirates learned this the hard way. The galaxy watched, horrified and in awe, as humanity's military superiority became evident in every battle. They had once been seen as a species of pacifists, focusing on scientific advancement and diplomacy. But now, humanity's military prowess, honed over centuries, was exposed. Every move the humans made was deliberate, calculated to ensure they not only won the battle but made it clear to everyone watching that the humans had always known how to fight. They simply hadn't needed to, and as the last of the pirate strongholds fell one by one, the message grew clearer: humanity's patience had been mistaken for weakness, and now that patience had run out. The pirates, once so confident in their ability to plunder at will, were now paying the price for underestimating a species that had perfected both mercy and the art of destruction. The galaxy would never forget this lesson. It was a harsh reality, one that would forever change the way the other civilizations saw humanity. No longer would they be seen as a minor player on the galactic stage. Humanity had revealed its true strength, and they had made sure the galaxy knew that it would never again be underestimated. The humans weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting to redefine their place in the galaxy, and they would not stop until the lesson was learned by every corner of the universe. Part 9, The Pirates' Last Stand. As the pirates scattered across the galaxy in a desperate attempt to avoid humanity's wrath, they quickly learned the magnitude of the force they had provoked. They fled to the furthest reaches of the galaxy, thinking they could escape the relentless pursuit of the Earth Defense Force. But they couldn't outrun the storm that was coming for them. The humans' hunter-killer teams, specialized units of elite soldiers and high-tech warships, were relentless. These squads were not just trained in combat, they were engineered for precision. They tracked the pirates across vast stretches of space, closing in on them with a speed and accuracy that left their enemies with nowhere to hide. The pirates, once a feared force on the fringes of galactic space, were now running, scrambling for safety in the endless void. But no matter where they hid, the humans found them. Their hideouts, once thought to be impenetrable, were dismantled with terrifying efficiency. The hunter-killer teams infiltrated pirate bases with ease, breaching shields and bypassing security systems that had taken years to perfect. They moved swiftly, methodically, and without mercy. Pirate strongholds that had once been fortified with the most advanced technology now crumbled under the weight of Earth's might. The pirates, once so proud, were now nothing more than prey. They were no longer masters of the galaxy's lawless fringes, they were being hunted down one by one. Every pirate ship that dared to resist was met with swift retribution. Their once feared fleet, a symbol of their power, was being torn apart, one base and one ship at a time. Every move they made to escape was anticipated by the humans. Every effort to hide was futile. Humanity wasn't just fighting, they were systematically dismantling the pirates' entire operation. It became painfully clear to the pirates that they had underestimated their foe in the most disastrous way possible. Humanity was not just capable of fighting back, they were capable of anticipating every possible form of resistance and adapting accordingly. They were relentless, their tactics calculated and flawless. The pirates had thought themselves untouchable. Now, they were being eradicated from the galaxy with cold, precision-driven efficiency. Part 10, The Final Lesson. It wasn't long before the pirates were cornered. Their last remaining hideouts were discovered, their final strongholds dismantled by Earth's military. The vast criminal network that the pirates had once built was no more. What was left of their fleet was either destroyed or captured. As the final pirate vessels were obliterated in a series of surgical strikes, the galaxy's leaders were forced to come to terms with a new and undeniable truth. Humanity had not just defeated the pirates, they had demonstrated something far more profound. The galactic powers, who had once regarded humanity as a species not to be taken seriously, were now facing a harsh reality. Earth had always been underestimated. They had been viewed as the newcomers, a species that had risen quickly but was considered by some to be lacking in the capacity for war. No one had expected that humanity, with its diplomatic focus and scientific advances, could possess the kind of military might that could bring down the largest and most powerful criminal syndicates in the galaxy, but the final lesson had been learned. Humanity was no longer a primitive species to be underestimated. They had revealed themselves to be a sleeping giant, a species that had developed the art of warfare long before they had taken to the stars, a species that had been lying in wait for the moment when they would need to defend themselves. The humans had proven, without a shadow of a doubt, that they could respond to threats with terrifying efficiency. The pirates had learned that lesson the hard way, and now the galaxy had learned it, too. As for me, Ambassador Klex Brightheart, I found myself promoted to a new position, Special Advisor on Human Affairs. It was an unexpected honor, but it was also a necessity. The Galactic Council was beginning to understand that humanity's approach to diplomacy, science, and warfare was unlike anything they had ever encountered. There would need to be someone who truly understood Earth's history, culture, and military capabilities, someone who could help bridge the gap between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. The Council, in the wake of the pirates' destruction, issued new guidelines regarding humanity. They were simple, but they carried the weight of everything that had just transpired. First, all warning labels on human vessels, products, and installations were to be taken seriously, because when humanity decided to act, they did so with unparalleled precision. Second, any aggressive action against Earth or its citizens would be considered an act of war. And third, no one should ever underestimate humanity's capabilities again. The new rules were clear. The galaxy had learned its lesson, humanity was not to be dismissed. Their ships, their weapons, and their ability to act with terrifying efficiency would no longer be ignored. And the pirates, for all their bravado and ruthlessness, were now gone, nothing more than a memory, a cautionary tale for anyone who might think to test humanity again. As the council members made their way out of the chamber, I sat back in my seat, reflecting on everything that had transpired. Humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. And as I prepared for my new role, I couldn't help but smile. The storm had passed, but the consequences would echo through the stars for generations. Humanity had shown the galaxy who they really were, and no one would ever make the same mistake again.